JP, it's time for the Dynamite review. Yeah, what did we make of Dynamite this week? Obviously, you did the midweek news dump on the old Patreon, talking about the lineup for the Continental Classic. I'm actually haven't had the chance to talk about it anyway. I've got to say, before we get into Dynamite, I was overwhelmingly very impressed with the lineup for the Continental Classic. I enjoyed listening to Wade Keller rip it apart because Wade is going to Wade. But me personally, I'm into it. I think it's a good lineup. I think, we've got obviously it's probably a bit late now for people to join, or I think kind of might be allowing some last minute entries with some caveats, but we've got a pick'ems going on the Discord too. And seems like more people are into it than the G1. So that's a winner too. We'll take that. But overall, I was just like, Danielson's in there, Kingston's in there. That obviously we knew that already, but that's going to keep me interested. Swerve being knocking around, Moxley being around. Yes, there's a couple of no hopers in there, particularly Daniel Garcia, but there's a story there you can tell. Particularly Jay Lethal, who's the one where I probably most forgive criticism, I think, but somebody has to lose, and I think that's okay. I think it's fine that you need those kind of pin eaters in the tournament. So overwhelmingly, I'm still feeling like it's all very last minute. I'm still feeling like Tony Khan has came up with this idea in the last week or so, and he's going, fuck, what are we going to do? We'll merge 3 belts, which is apparently news to New Japan. And news to Eddie Kingston too, because on that little YouTube preview he did force Eddie Kingston to re-say what his words were about defending the title, and it turns out it's just the winner's going to get all 3 belts. It's all a bit messy. We don't have a proper schedule, which again tells you what the mess going on backstage. Like I said on Twitter, I'm sure Jerry Lynn or whoever's job it is, fucking Judge Jeff Jones, is frantically booking flights to people so that we can get all these matches in before World's End. I don't think it's necessarily been thought out with the degree of planning that Gedo might put into a proper G1. But overwhelmingly, it's it's a good lineup. I'm excited for it. I don't think they kicked off very well on Dynamite. With all that said, I think I've got to, absolutely say that. I don't want to just be negative on something that overall I enjoy as a concept, and overall something I think I'm going to enjoy over the long term. I feel like that problem of the lack of planning kind of bit them on Dynamite, because I think Dynamite, there was a lot of shite on Dynamite, and the good wrestling could have carried it, but I just don't think they put the best foot forward. It was like a World Cup when the Friday match is on and it's Morocco versus fucking whoever. You know what I mean? It's not really that.
It's a big slight on Morocco, that, mate.
I know, I was going to say, I could have picked a better example than Morocco.
Saudi Arabia.
Go with them, yeah. It's a bit like, it's a work, and the G1 every year, opening weekend, even when it's bad, has something that makes you really excited. They didn't really do that. Like Jay Lethal versus Swerve was fine. Heel versus heel match. At the end of the day, that's what it was. Jay White and Roosh, quite unique. Another heel versus heel match. And also, you had Jay White winning by cheating, which apparently this was going to be the clean tournament. But we already know that is not going to be the case. I might have waited till match 3 or 4 before I did that. And then Mark Briscoe and John Moxley was pretty good, to be fair. I enjoyed that. That was probably more along the lines of what you'd want. But I didn't really think, I don't know what you think, JP. I didn't think they put the best foot forward for something that overall I'm positive on, and overall the good matches are going to come. But it felt like, for me, these were matches that should have been taken in week 3, 4, 5 type of thing, when maybe either the points didn't mean anything or they actually meant something, and, Swerve had to beat Jay Lethal to stay in the running or something like that. I just don't know if it was the best advertisement for the tournament as far as kicking things off.
I didn't think it was. The problem I had with it is, it's a lot of the criticism. God, this is the bit where JP starts ranting about fucking Dynamite yet again. But I am with you for this, because what do you do for this? You do Moxley Danielson, don't you? You go with a kind of
you can't fly though. You can't have Danielson.
Oh, okay. You go with 2 big top line stars, and then with that, you go, oh, okay. So that type of match, the kind of big match between 2 established top stars, we didn't have that really with any of these matches. It always felt like they weren't in doubt. So it was like kind of the filler that you'd find. Like they were doing a lot of comparison to World Cups, and that's what it is. Like this is like the filler before you get around to the round 3, where it means something, where if you had one of, like, say, a John Moxley behind the ape, you didn't have any upsets, which is a thing that you classically get in the G1. So you then create the story of, well, Moxley can't lose any more matches in order to get through to the finals. So he has to win everyone, which means, and he's up against harder athletes. If Mark Briscoe had managed to get kind of an upset win or something along those lines. So they kind of booked themselves into a corner. And I think the issue on the show was you had these matches here, none of which were like amazingly good. There were none that were bad per se, and I would agree with you that Moxley, Mark Briscoe, I thought was the best of them. But then in between it, you had some shit. Like, and I mean that in a lot of ways. There was a lot of stuff in it. I was like, oh my God, I didn't like this. And it kind of hit the point of going, well, fucking hell, we're expecting, like, he's thinking, well, the good wrestling will kind of save the show. And it's like, mate, you've got good wrestling on every week. Like, you're going to need more than this. And that's how I kind of felt with it. And, you know, tournaments and stuff like that, the G1, we start hearing about this stuff like a good, like, at least like month and a half to 2 months beforehand. There's stuff going out, and it's halfway through a New Japan show, and they just announce the cities, and the crowd are already excited. Here, it's been in like less than 2 weeks, and they're throwing it in. Oh, and by the way, it's for 3 belts, and you're like, what? What the fuck's going on? Like, we're going another belt, are we? Like, and it's all to that point, the same.
JP, the pick'ems, like, it's not the most important thing, but Connor was trying to do the pick'ems and was just guessing. Like, it feels like, I think based on what Tony said, there's a semi-final, and Connor ended up being right, so God bless him. But it was like, and I think we're gonna have the winner and this runner-up of each block face each other in semi-finals, which is stupid in itself, because you end up with, like, I don't know what the maths exactly are. It's like 35% of like the competitors are going to get through to the finals anyway. So it's all a bit like, not really very well thought through. But he had to figure it out for himself through like piecemeal of the little things Tony said, or the belt thing, with Eddie Kingston. Like, it made sense to me, but there were plenty of people out there who were still confused by it. Who were still like, so is the belt on the line or not? You know what I mean? These all come with doing it so last minute and being so disorganized, to your point.
That's it. And like, it's like what Ramin says in the chat here as well. Tournaments have to be well prepared. There's a reason why you'll get the draw for like the European Championships well in advance of the tournament. They're not giving it to fans like 2 weeks before. This is the kind of stuff you want to be excited about. The idea of AEW is the only company that could have this kind of tournament. Like, they really are. They're the ones with the depth in roster and the willingness to be able to do this type of a tournament. And the idea of them doing a G1 style tournament, absolutely fine. But when you start announcing it for like next year, if you're running in December, you start talking about this shit basically at All In. You announce stuff during All In, halfway through the show. Be in it. Yeah, because you want to be in it. You want to have, fucking hell, the buzz for this. And instead, they didn't. People should be qualifying. Like,
why is Kenny Omega not in it? Because that's the thing with Meltzer made this point in the Observer today. And again, I don't mean to pile on something that overall I've got to point out I am happy with, and the lineup's good, and I think it's going to be good overall. But Meltzer wasn't wrong today in the Observer when he was like, well, the thing about New Japan is, though, it's the top 20 wrestlers, and yes, there's people in there you think is shit, but like, there's no one missing. It's not like, where's Okada this year? Where's Tanahashi this year? All the people who should be in it are in it, and it's the last 5 or so where we debate who should be in it and who shouldn't be. With AEW, it's like, Kenny Omega's not in it for reasons, Jericho's not in it for reasons, or like, Hangman Page isn't interested. Why? You know what I mean? There's not really a kayfabe explanation for that. Like, I suppose he's injured.
MJF.
So you can probably make one up yourself. Why is MJF not asked? Like, when he's the world champion. So you can come up with reasons, but it's not really spelt out. And it's not just them. There's a long list of like wrestlers in the company who aren't in this, and you can't have everyone in it because it's a small group. But like with everything Tony Khan does and every tournament Tony Khan does, it's not like they're see through with why certain people are in it. Why is Daniel Garcia in it and certain people aren't? Why is we understand from a non-kayfabe point of view why Jay Lethal's in there, but from a kayfabe point of view, why is he in there over like some of the other AEW champions? We don't. Because it's so last minute, we don't dot those I's and cross those T's. We'd all love to see Takeshita in there. Got to win over Kenny Omega recently. There's picks like that you kind of wonder about. But I'm more like, where's Samoa Joe? I know, potentially he's got this MJF match, but from a kayfabe point of view, you haven't really covered that either. That's where it loses me a little bit. But again, I don't know if you're the same as me. I am. You look at that list of wrestlers, and it can't be bad, can it? Like, it's going to be good TV over the strength and breadth of time. It's just more, it's I think it's that double whammy to what you said before. It's the opening day not being the most exciting, and Collision when we get to the preview in a bit isn't that exciting either because we've got a big Bryan Danielson shaped hole because the man can't fly right now, and I get that's a real life issue, but it's still true that it's not the best way to, not your best foot forward. And God help them if they have any injuries, along the way. I don't think they're going to react quite as well as New Japan do, but. Yeah, felt like a lukewarm way to start something that overwhelmingly I'm quite hot on. JP, and yeah, I was just saying that as far as like an overall Dynamite, I don't know. Like even to that point, like Swerve coming out, Platt mentions here, we didn't do the Hangman Swerve story in the tournament. I was more like, again, it's the 2 foot, steps forward, 1 foot back analogy I kept making on Spotlight last week. I wanted Swerve at the tournament, but like I'm kind of just coming out with no fanfare and basically having to be a de facto babyface against Jay Lethal wasn't really the best follow-up to the Jay White stuff. Like if I wanted follow-up on it from a storyline point of view, I might have got it there. Didn't get it because of the tournament. And then the other story stuff that I got on the show, I just thought it was shite. I think this was like, again, more of the same, really. Like I hated the MJF and Adam Cole and Samoa Joe segment. I thought Samoa Joe was great at delivering his material. I just didn't think that the material was good. I still don't understand why he wasn't. Apparently he's gonna be MJF's shadow and he's gonna back him up now. I mean, wasn't really asked about that, was he, at the weekend? But okay, Joe, we'll move forward with it. We had your spooky fucking masked man appeared on the screen. We had your Adam Cole and MJF like call and response stuff with the crowd continuing on. As lukewarm as I was on the
create a monster with the Adam chant as well, haven't they?
And
serves them fucking right.
Steph's going to have some interesting takes on the people who were sat around her and the types of people who are getting into this stuff. They're live. It's over in the buildings. You can never argue that point, but I think it makes for painful TV. And yeah, it was definitely very much a show of two halves this week, JP.
Yeah, it was. For those people who can't see as well, I just want to get behind the curtain. Matty's in the chat back there with a big fucking smile on his face
he's
about all of this here, and he's fucking
no one can see it.
Well. It is. No one can see it. I can, and it is making me laugh. But it was just, I was thinking of it, was there anything in between those Continental Classic matches that I actively liked? Because I thought you put in this stuff with MJF and Adam Cole. I hated that. Danhausen got involved, and honestly, I'd sooner dip me knackers in sulfuric acid than watch that gobshite on my fucking TV.
Did you wake up in a sweat, mate, when his music hit? To put that in the Discord somewhere JP's waking up going, what's going on? What's happened?
I saw it. I saw a picture of him wearing Jake Hager's hat, and I thought, get to Fuckhausen is really where I was with that absolute shit. He is shit. He's still shit. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't get it in any way, shape, or form. He is fucking garbage, that bloke, as well.
He's been nicking t-shirts with the Hebners, hasn't he?
Yes. I think that's the only thing I like about him. Like if he does that. I don't even like the fact he does it, but it makes me laugh. Christian Cage's stuff, which I thought, I'll kind of enjoy it. I hated that in a big, big way.
That's interesting.
The Luchasaurus rename as Kill Switch, I thought, that's kind of bollocks. The Prodigy, really? I was like, or you could just call him Nick Cage. The stuff with the mum, which was bad, which I ended up thinking she does kind of look like Stifler's mum, doesn't she? From American Pie. That's what I got reminded by with her. But the bump and the concerto that appeared to just be dragging on for fucking ages as well. The concerto stuff, I really disliked it. The Ruby Soho and Angelo Parker grown adults. Sorry, yeah.
Well, on the Christian thing, it's funny because like I'm 50-50 because I was loving it. Up until that point, I love the Luchasaurus rename because the name Luchasaurus, like, it's shit. Like, I think Kill Switch is a much better name for him. What I did, and I was loving that stuff. And I don't know if I go as far as the Nick. It's a funny joke, but like, do we want more jokes? Like, I'm not sure if I want Nick Cage on Dynamite. It'd be a funny one, and a lot of them aren't funny. So, like, there is that win. But I don't know on that. But I was still enjoying the segment overall. I really was. And then they just took it too far. Like, I didn't feel like, and this might sound a bit Wade Keller, like finicky, but like, I aspire to be that level of petty when it comes to wrestling breakdowns. So sorry, indulge me. Like, I thought like was that earned with Luchasaurus / Kill Switch for him to all of a sudden want to defend this woman and have like this heart of gold? Like, have they really built that up? I know there was elements of it a couple of months ago, but I don't know if that's really a story that you've been bubbling in the background. And I thought they just went too far with it, because I thought there was nothing believable about the fact that, like, it felt like the home invasion again. Like, there's no fan is sat at home going, oh yeah, I bet Nick Wayne's not asked about to cave his mum's head in. I bet he doesn't care, because he didn't play that very well either, you know, and he's 18. I don't expect much better acting chops from him, but he wasn't very good at selling that. And it just wasn't believable from the starting point that they're gonna cave in this civilian's head. And of course, it's AEW, so there's no consequences. No security's gonna stop them. Tony Khan's not gonna fucking punish them next week. It's just gonna be like one element of an angle going forward. That's where they took it too far. And then, you know, doing the concerto to him while his mum watched, that I was kind of mixed on. But like, that was, I was into it halfway through. It was that halfway point where it was just like, all right, now we're just getting silly. Now we've gone from a wrestling angle to something else absolutely entirely. So I am with you on the second half.
Yeah, it was renaming Luchasaurus. I don't have an issue with. You take off the mask, you say, mate, you're not a fucking dinosaur. Like, and yeah, like,
that's where that's
as an incredible line to ever deliver at any stage of my life, to say to another human being, you're not a dinosaur. Let's move on. Like, that was the thing I had with it. But I just kind of wanted Nick Cage to call Nick Cage, Freudian slip, Nick Wayne, to just call him Dad. Like, that was all I wanted. That was the thing that would have made me laugh in all of this. Because you do say, like, don't want too much comedy, but it's played straight. So it's delivered in at least a way where, like, I can kind of get it. And they've kind of built up the dad stuff, I think, for long enough for it to be kind of fine. But he's also with a level of kind of dickishness behind it. But yeah, it just dragged for me. And the bump, I mean, God, Shayna Wayne shouldn't have to be put into those kind of situations. Really, I just thought I didn't like it at all. And then when we move on,
but I was going to say, you're about to get into the Tony Storm thing. I thought that was fucking crap. But I'm sure you got more to say on that.
It was shit, but at least it didn't go on for ages. What I found weird about it, there was a break before and then a break afterwards. And I was like, oh, and the fact she calls Tony Khan Anthony Khan, I think that was the only thing like about. But it's just a load of rubbish.
Too much.
Yeah,
too much. It was a weird Dynamite. It was a 50-50 Dynamite for me, and I think that's what it's going to be. I think in my head it was going to be like, this tournament's going to take over and we won't have to deal with the shit. Based on this Dynamite, we're going to have to deal with the shit, and we're going to, you know, it's going to be one for you, one for me. You know, Tony Khan and Jimmy Jacobs are going to get their fucking wanky fucking comedy shite, and then we're going to get matches, but like for points, which I'm sure Matty's going to love. But like, the matches that we got weren't good enough to counteract it on this week, but again, like I say, I'm open-minded to it coming.
With Angelo Parker behaving like Harry Potter and Ron Weasley and bloody Goblet of Fire when they're at that disco at Hogwarts, which has got Jarvis Cocker like singing at as well. And they're like, oh, we can't talk to girls. And it's just like all this stuff like amongst them. It's, especially when we know what we know about bloody wrestlers, for God's sakes. It's like, this stuff is just, it's dumb. And it's insulting, and it's really childish, and it's not how human beings ever actually react to these situations. So yeah, dislike that.
To that point, though, maybe I would have enjoyed Dynamite a lot if Moxley had jobbed to Mark at the end of the Mark Briscoe at the end of the show, and we had that feel good moment. Maybe I'd come out of it feeling different, because that was, you know, it shouldn't be undersold, was the highlight of the show. I very much enjoyed that, but probably wasn't enough to save an otherwise, I would say, mid Dynamite.